from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Talking Catholic. It's Kari, Janisse here, and I am also here again with my good friend. Yes, I said good friend, Mike Walsh.
Hi, Kari. It's so nice to be back in the in your general vicinity in Williamstown, not in the vault.
2 weeks in a row.
And we're recording at 8:30 at night because you just finished what did you just finish?
I had double ministries tonight. So we had our young adult group, but prior to that we had our youth group as well. So kind of had them back to back. So and that's for my own actually schedule to make it a little easier to be out one night instead of two separate nights. So it actually works well.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, in the hot. Today was more hot than last week. I remember last week you said I was sweating. Today, I actually was sweating.
And yet, now I'm looking at you and you look perfectly fine.
Because it's later in the night, so I cooled off. We had the sunset, but it was a beautiful day.
Yeah.
And here in New Jersey, a very sunny, bright, beautiful day. And our ministries are outdoors, as I mentioned, and it was nice to be out there.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, we've talked a little bit about what you do. What did you do tonight as part of your ministry?
Tonight, well, we'll get into it probably a little later because it had a lot to do with Father Peter Gallagher, but it was his second Mass with the young adult group, which he was a part of actually here at this parish. So we decided to plan a Mass where he could say special for our group. And then afterwards, a little reception where he gave his first blessing, his priestly blessing.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
It kind of coincided with our Mondays in Prayer group, which is our youth group as well. And the prayer this week was the blessing. So we kind of explained how there's the plenary indulgence attached and it's a unique opportunity and here, come get your blessing and then hang out with the young adult group. So
there's something I want to ask about that. And we could wait. You know what? Remind me to ask this when we bring our guests up.
Okay.
But before we bring our guests up, we actually had a really nice weekend. We saw a lot of each other this
Oh my
weekend,
gosh, we were together, Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, not together though. We didn't actually. I
you just walked by with your camera a bunch of times and smiled, and I smiled. And you never got to meet my husband.
I never got a chance to talk to Phil.
But it's okay. One of these days. One of these days.
That's all right. He seemed fine.
He was good.
And it was actually nice. It was just the two of you. Your son was being babysat at the time.
It's like our first Mass since March that we've been together because I've been going, but he hasn't. I've been the live streamer. We know this, right? And then there was a few times where I guess I had opportunities to attend Mass, but he was home with my son. So, yeah, it was our first Mass together as a couple. Well, actually, in a long time, because even before the pandemic, we would be together, but our son would be with us. So It was nice to be able to focus just on the Mass, not behind a camera, not with. I love my son, but a 2-year-old in Mass right now is difficult. He's all over the place. So we're usually just in the back vestibule with some cars. So it was nice to just focus on the Mass, which it was a beautiful Mass because Saturday was the ordination of these two baby priests now of our diocese.
I want to ask about that too when we bring our priests on. How comfortable they are with the reference to baby priests.
I think it's very endearing.
It's adorable.
Term.
It is an endearing term. You're absolutely right.
And then the first Mass for Father Peter Gallagher, who's a good friend of mine. So that's where the one I attended. And you were taking photos, so they were beautiful. I saw them. You already posted them. Very nice.
Put them up. So we're recording this the 2 days after our new baby priests have become ordained, and but it's going up about a week after, a little more than a week after their ordination. But I don't think too much will have changed in that week in their lives. Other than that,
they're still baby priests.
They're still baby priests, and they still don't know where they're going yet. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. But no, it was we said this last week as part of the podcast, but I just kind of wanted to really hit it home again. This is certainly a unique situation this year where most of us couldn't attend the ordinations because they were invitation only. We had to keep the numbers down because of that. And by we, I mean the Diocese of Camden. But in the future, when these ordinations happen, if there's space available, make a point to go to them. Our hope is to live stream them long into the future. This is the original reason we bought the live stream equipment was to do special Masses like this because not everybody can make it to an ordination. But it's definitely.
They feel like a lot of people feel like, I don't want to take that spot from somebody else. I don't know them that well. Should I really go? And they feel uncomfortable, but. Like
I tell everyone to show up.
Just go. Yeah, it's the the faithful praying for our priests.
Yeah, if there's a seat available. For instance, 2 years ago, I think when we had it, or 3 years ago, when it was at
Father
the cathedral,
there was not a seat available.
There was not a seat in the house, and because
standing room only.
The cathedral in Camden is not a large cathedral, and we used every space available for that one. But you know what? That's also beautiful too, because there's nothing. more fulfilling than saying a full church, particularly at a special mass like that. So in the future, if you can't go to or if there's an ordination available, go and try to figure out your way to get it. And go to the diaconate ordinations too, because they're all special. There are these moments when the Holy Spirit, comes down on these very holy men and become, something. I think I referred to, what did I refer to them as? They become superhuman.
Superhuman.
They're human, but they become superhuman.
They give blessings. They get baptized. We can't do those things.
They gave so many blessings. These two gave so many blessings this past weekend. I thought their arms were going to fall off.
Yep. And they're still going. Like I said, just earlier tonight, we had all the youth and young adults lined up, and Father Peter was out there, arms extended, and praying his heart out.
That's good. Well, I guess we kept people waiting too long, or long enough. So let's introduce our guests.
My name is Father Peter Gallagher. I am 25 years old, aka a baby compared to the rest of the priests. I'm from Haddon Township, New Jersey. My home parish is Christ the King, and currently, for the last 3 months, I've been at Church of the Holy Family in Sewell, Washington Township. So,
thank you for joining us, Father Peter.
Yeah, good to have you on.
And who else?
My name is John March, and I grew up in Haddon Heights in Audubon. And I guess I should call myself Father John March.
You're still a baby priest.
It's a baby
remember
priest.
those things.
And
not 26 years old.
No, I'm not 26 years old. Father Adam compared me and Peter the other night. He said there's several comparisons you could make between us, like Old Testament and New Testament was one that he said. So I was the Old Testament part. So I'm 42 years old, and my home parish is St. Rose of Lima in Haddon Heights, but for the past year I've been stationed at Infant Jesus Parish in Woodbury Heights.
Oh, so, nice. Great.
So, I guess, we spoke with the new transitional deacons last week, and we had a great conversation. One part of that great conversation was sort of discussing what their journey or the vocation's journey was. And I'm going to, because of the difference in your ages, I'm also going to assume there's probably a very different vocation journey between the two of you. So, and you know what? I would like to say that one is more normal than the other, but I don't think it's true because we've had so many priests on the podcast. And what I've realized over time is I don't think there is any normal route to the priesthood. Everyone seems to be driven by something else.
Your route, your journey.
Yeah.
Your vocation story.
Yeah. So for those of you who have ever considered that either you have a calling to the priesthood or maybe somebody you know has a calling to the priesthood, but it seems like their journey is too weird to become a priest, there's not a normal one yet that we've heard. So let's test that theory again.
Let's see what we got.
So, Father Peter, let's talk about your. Some might, I guess, refer to yours as more of a traditional journey in the sense that you, from the very early stages, were following this path. So,
take us back.
Yeah. When did you first get an inkling that the priesthood might be in your future?
So, I think you're going to like this story particularly, Mike.
Oh, I love stories that I think I'm going to like.
I'm in fifth grade, 2005. Can you believe that?
Oh gosh! You were in fifth grade in 2005,
and you're 10 years younger than me.
Oh my gosh! That's rough.
I'm in those years where first grade was 2001, fifth grade 2005.
Oh, nice and easy for you.
Easy. So I am at the rectory with my family. We've won a dinner at the rectory of Christ the King, my home parish.
You won it? It was like a raffle or something?
Through our big fundraiser, which at the time was called the Monte Carlo Night.
Wow.
So,
fancy.
What did we win? A dinner cooked by Father Rob Sinatra.
Oh, no.
Oh, I take it back. I'm very happy. I cannot wait to hear where this goes.
So
the voice of Talking Catholic for anyone who
he is the intro. He is the intro.
Yeah.
He needs to change that intro, by the way. He needs to say from the vault, from Our Lady of Peace, from wherever we are recording.
To be honest, not to interrupt.
Sorry, Father.
You brought up Father Sinatra's name, so we're going to go down this path.
We have to have
Why not?
a tangent.
Why not? I love the fact that we're talking about him. I actually had him re-record it about, I don't know, maybe 9 months ago, and I still haven't changed it. But now I want to do an entirely new one down the line, so we may find something. It might even be Father Sinatra. Don't tell him. We'll see if he notices if it's somebody else.
Maybe.
You go. So anyway, you go to dinner.
So I go to dinner, but he's the end of the story. He's not the main. He's not the protagonist.
Okay.
So we're about to leave. It was a good dinner, I think. We're about to leave, and I'm kind of an energetic kid, and I said, "Can we go see upstairs?" We saw the living room, we saw the kitchen, we saw the dining room. What's next? And Monsignor Pecusa, the pastor, says, not until you enter the seminary.
Oh,
Have a nice night.
Out the door.
No. And I asked my dad on the footstep, on the porch of the rectory, what's a seminary?
Yeah.
And that is the moment where I first thought about, after he explained it to me, where I thought maybe God's calling me to be a priest. There was, some peace. There was just like something. There's something happened there. So part of a practicing Catholic family, I liked church. That might be part of this traditional thing, like where it's like, kid likes church. Like, are you kidding me? I loved, Father Rob taught me to serve well.
Yes.
I served with him, wanted to please him.
Yeah.
He had this great thing with the kids where he's like, if you do this, you'll never see angry Father Rob. It was great. It was great. For 4th to 8th graders, it was great. So anyway, just moving along. We're just gonna keep it going. He really did influence me a lot at the beginning.
Yeah.
Father Rob Sinatra came to my house for my 14th birthday, I believe, because I went to First Friday Mass at Christ the King every first Friday. The readings aren't in their book. You can't follow the readings. So I liked following the readings at Mass. They're not there. So somehow I found out about this like daily Roman Missal thing. And my mom asked him. He comes and brings it to me for my birthday. I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. I couldn't believe there was a priest in my house. It was like, what is
bringing
this?
you a gift.
Bringing me a gift. It was very humbling and it was a great memory.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to fast forward to my junior and senior year where I was considering it more. I was like really considering at the end of my junior year. I ended up dating for about 6 months. And I was just unhappy. There was something missing. I felt furthest away from God than I had in my life. There was like just something not right. And I just remember a couple conversations that were really helpful. One, Father Romano sent me to Father George Sider, the pastor of Holy Eucharist, and I had a great conversation with him about what God was, just my life story. And at the end of this conversation, I was like, God's calling me to be a priest.
Wow.
Boom. Just it's clear. Once you talk about it, get it out, you're like.
Now, at that time in your life, was Father Romano a teacher at the school, or was he the vocations director?
So Father Romano was the chaplain since my freshman year, and then that summer between my junior and senior year, he became the vocation director.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect
And
timing.
It made entering the seminary about 5 times easier because
Wow,
I
really?
trusted the
Yeah.
vocation director. I knew him so well.
Yeah.
So, he just took a great step. He said, you're thinking about this. How about you talk to Father Sider? After this conversation, really solid. One memory that happened right before there that was very jarring was a parishioner who had encouraged me since I was young. It was announced very unusually that he had died. And when at a mass, the mass I had never, the first time in my life I didn't want to be at church is when I hear this announcement, and hearing this, it was just like God knocking me across the head of I want you to be a priest. Wake up. Just and not in a violent way. I don't want to downplay God. I don't want to disrespect God, but it was just the exact wake up call I needed. It was just so hello.
Wow.
And
That man's probably so happy in heaven right now.
I
On
hope
your
so.
ordination
I hope
day, he's
so.
probably so happy.
And faithful parishioner of Christ the King. And then we were there yesterday. So
Yeah.
that was, those 2 moments were very helpful. This kind of knocking me off the horse to the scriptural reference, and just the conversation. And it was a great journey back. I loved senior year of high school. Knowing I was going to the seminary, it was a great end of high school, and
Wow.
one that I wish our high schoolers had.
The end of I know this was a tough year for all the high schools.
Yeah.
We had several on the podcast
We
recently,
did.
and even they, for as joyous as a conversation that was, and you could tell that there was a
There's-
deep sadness in their eyes because of the way
It's
school
just
ended.
different, and they have to accept it, but
But nobody.
Yeah,
the joy was taken from them.
Yeah.
I'm very I think I want to, spoil them. I think they.
I think they deserve it.
That's yeah. I think they deserve it.
You want to find every senior you can and figure out.
Throw a big party for them or something.
Okay, well, before we get into seminary, then let's turn to Father March, and let's hear about your completely different kind of
your Old Testament story.
Your Old Testament vocation story. So, what sort of brought you to that realization that perhaps the priesthood was in your future?
Yeah, I think my faith started to come more alive for me in high school when I went on a ministry trip with the Bishop Eustace youth minister for 2 weeks, and it was during that time, like experiencing community and like reflecting on my faith with the group, that I started to like God more, and then I was like getting ready to apply to college. I got interested in this military college, the Naval Academy, and I wasn't too. I wanted to go to the school, but I wasn't as interested in the military side of it, and so I kind of convinced myself that I would go to like this military school and teach the students there about God, and then I got there, and it turned out that they taught me a lot more about God.
Wow.
And one of the professors as well, especially. And so I was like surrounded by these like 19 and 20-year-olds that had really been well catechized, especially in the Bible. And so I just spent a lot of time with them. And one of them was a really strong Catholic as well. And she started praying for me a lot. She saw me kind of going away from my Catholic roots, even though I was trying to pursue God the best I could. I think she started praying for me a lot, and she continued praying for me for the next 10 years until I eventually came back to my Catholic faith.
Wow.
So I ended up graduating from there and going into the Marine Corps. And at the end of my time in the Marine Corps, a spiritual mentor said to me, what are you going to do when you get out of the Marine Corps? And I said, I'll probably go work for a Christian organization. And he said, well, with the respect that you have for Protestantism and Catholicism, it would be a good idea for you to take time to figure out what your convictions are. And he offered to help me with that. And several other people helped me with that as well. So I basically got out of the Marine Corps and took about 2 years actually to travel and to think about what form of Christianity I was called to. And in the middle of that, I was like, I have to figure out what I'm going to be doing at the end of this time of discernment, whether I come out Protestant or Catholic. And I kind of made a list of groups or people that I wanted to spend a day in the life with to get a taste for what it was like. And the first group I came across was actually the CFR sisters, who I think a young lady from, or the CFR fathers actually, but one of your
one of our young adults,
Kate Creel, she just joined, so it's a beautiful thing.
She was also present at your ordination on Saturday. She got to be there.
Great. I heard she was coming. I didn't get to see her.
I did get to see her. Oh,
that's
awesome. She looked so happy. She was so happy to be there, and she just looks like she's living out her vocation the way God is calling her.
That's the best.
It's the most joyful I've seen her.
Wow.
I mean, she's always joyful, but this optimal joy.
Yeah. No, when I remember what drew me to them when I met them, I was like, this is the coolest group of people I've ever met in my life, and so that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Was that up in the Bronx that you spent time with them?
It was a little north of the Bronx. The Sisters of my friend joined the Sisters of Life, and so the CFRs were at a camp up in I think it's called Millburn, New York, maybe. Okay. And the CFRs were up there as a bunch of us were trying to build a chapel for them, and so I went and visited them in Harlem, I think, and I got there and. It was a very awkward situation. When I had called them from Vermont, we had bad phone reception, so they said, we can't hear you, just meet us on Sunday night and then you'll stay with us for 3 days. So I hung up the phone. I hope the story doesn't get them into trouble. So I got there Sunday night, and when I got on the ski lift after I was on the phone with them in New Hampshire or Vermont, I said, "Oh no, I didn't get to tell the guy that I'm not a practicing Catholic right now." And so I got there and I had a great young adult meeting that they invited me to, and then I was heading back to the friary, and it was 10 at night. It was late, past their bedtime, and the priest, the vocations director, went to show me the chapel, and I said, "Oh, by the way, I'm not going to be receiving communion tomorrow because I'm not a practicing Catholic right now." And his jaw dropped to the ground, and he was like, "What?" and so we went and had the most awkward conversation that I've had in the last 10 years. And I went to bed that night and I was like, "God, why couldn't you have given me better phone reception? I would have told him over the phone." And then I guess I was like, I guess it was worth it to have the conversations I had at the young adult group. And one of the Friar brothers had said that he had worked as a young adult and started getting more into his faith, and he went to Steubenville to do a priestly discernment program out there before entering the CFRs. And so I was like, I guess it was worth it to be here to get to meet him and learn about that program. That sounds like a good thing, that maybe might be a good option for me eventually. And so the next day, I didn't stay for 3 days, but I was there the next morning, and I had a great time talking to the friars, and they catechized me. And I went to get into my car that day, and I had a voicemail from my 4-year-old second cousin, and she said, "Hi, John March. I was just thinking about you today, and I was wondering, when is the next time we're going to get to see you? That is, if we ever get to see you again. This is Grace. Bye." And
that was great.
Yeah.
What you just did.
and Grace, she lived in Steubenville, Ohio, where her mom went to school and got married. And I said, "When's the next time I can get to Steubenville?" And I realized the next weekend I was going to be on a retreat in Western Pennsylvania. So I just scheduled to make a visit to Franciscan University in Steubenville, and fell in love with that place. And I knew that was what God was calling me to on my next step. And and then a few months later, I came back into full communion with the Catholic Church the day that my friend who had been praying for me for 10 years took her initial vows with the Sisters of Life. So that was meaningful as well. And I did a year at Steubenville and felt like God was calling me into the seminary, and I called the CFRs again, and
They're like, "This guy again?"
They said, "What? You're thinking about the priesthood again after being in the church less than a year?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "No." They said, "Be a young Catholic adult for a while and ride out that roller coaster, and then think about the priesthood after you've done that." And so I ended up taking another 4 years, and I felt like God. 4 years later, I felt like God was given me a few signs to look into the priesthood again, and I ended up in Father Romano's office and felt a lot of peace with the Diocese of Camden. So,
Wow. That is quite a journey.
I'm just sitting here. There were so many twists and turns. We said last week we could have just done an episode with each of the deacons.
Yes.
I think we could have done an episode with these guys.
We need to have vocation story episodes. That's what we got to start doing.
Actually, I could just clip them all together. We got a ton
there
of
you
them.
go.
You're actually our second former Marine, as a matter of fact, that we've had on. Father Chris Mann was one of our first guests, and he's a former and a former
also
CFR too. Yeah,
He's got it all there.
Yeah. We like everyone to have a weird vocation story. So each of you were sort of brought into the fold or volunteered in the fold, but then came under Father Michael Romano as your vocations director, who just recently has gone to the NAC in Rome as the admissions director there, the North American College in Rome, but was, I guess, the vocations director here for around 8 years or so. And I'm curious, those conversations you had with them independently of each other, how important, how can I ask this question? What was it about those conversations with Father Romano that kind of helped you to additionally discern that A, this was a path you wanted to go, and B, that it was as a diocesan priest versus a CFR brother or something, or some other opportunity. So, Father Gallagher, those conversations with Father Romano, how do they help sort of like solidify your path?
I think as a high school student, I found it interesting because we just got along well, and I related to him and I trusted him. And I told him this about a year ago. I said, I don't know how he did it, because we talked a lot in high school, but it was like never with my friends. Like I would never for 4 years was like, Father Romano, like I was having this, doing stuff with my friends, and he like ruined it. Like he never did. I don't know how though.
Yeah.
Like,
he's intentional. He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing.
He's very smart.
Yeah.
He's very smart. And I think when he asked me to, like have this conversation, it was the perfect timing.
Yeah.
And I think he always had a good balance of rapport and also challenge. And I think that's important, especially for young men, you can't just kind of let them get away with everything, but you have to have some relationship and trust so that they're listening to you. So when he said you should do this, I was like, I believe you. I think what you think is good for me.
Yeah.
So, and I think in the seminary as well, he always found that ability to help develop our vocation by being there, being supportive, being loving, while also like showing us who we really are and saying like, you can do better. Here's room for growth. And I'm very thankful. I think that's very important to love, in the truth, to know that the person you're speaking to feels loved, while that everything you're told might not be like exactly what you want to hear.
So I'm curious, Father March, by the time you came into contact with Father Romano, you were certainly a more worldly adult than young Father Gallagher here. And I'm curious, with everything that you'd gone through in your life up until that point, how did Father Romano sort of interact with you and help you to come to that decision about joining the seminary or going to seminary?
Well, the thing that I remember is that he listened. He just asked me my story, and then he listened for the next 45 minutes, and he got the story. Whatever he said, I remember some of the things he said to me directly afterwards. Let me know that he understood the story, and he knew he had some immediate guidance for me as well. Like he was very straight with me and just said where the diocese would stand in relation to me and where I was at. And so he just made it very clear for me. He basically evaluated, like, we would think that where you are right now, that seminary for you would probably be better sooner than later. Is basically he probably would have put it more eloquently, but
don't give him too much credit. For our listeners, Father Romano actually will be our guest next week. And it'll be the first time, actually, I think, I could be wrong, but I think it'll be the first time he's been on the podcast by himself. We would usually have him paired up with someone because we were promoting iRace or seminarians in general, vocations of some kind. But this time it's going to be all him.
I love Father Romano.
Yeah, I'm going to make him sweat. I'm going to see if I can make him cry, but I'm definitely going to make him sweat. I guarantee it will make him laugh because he's got a good sense of humor. So then let's talk about seminary a little bit. I have to imagine you might have had slightly different perspectives on seminary, considering your age difference and what you've done in your lives. So for you, Father Gallagher, you go off. Seminary is essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 years of college and then so many years of seminary. In your case,
correct.
Gallagher,
So
right?
I think the 4 years we shared, John, are definite. The last 4 years, but then the beginning for me was 4 years because I was
You were right out of
You
high
were
school.
right into
A
college.
young,
Yeah.
a young one.
The New Testament.
Right. So your whole seminary journey from beginning to end was how long?
Was 8 years.
8 years
8 years.
exactly. All right.
And you did not do a pastoral year. So
No
you-
pastoral year.
8 years.
8 years of school.
You got the call to go to Rome for your last year or last 2 years?
My
That's
last
4.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 years. I'm sorry. That's right.
It's basically major seminary, right? For
Exactly.
For
Exactly.
Rome.
Right. So, for you, how was those 8 years? Like, what was it? Was it a troubling time? I remember having a conversation with Father Romano once and saying, isn't it weird to put our seminarians into a college life? Because, there's going to be so much temptation around them. And where your first 4 years were in Newark, right, at Seton Hall. You got New York City right there. And, it's the hub of life in that general vicinity. And Father Romano, when I asked him about that once, he looks at me and he goes, it's that sort of a, man, you're kind of dumb. He looked at me and he goes, yeah, we want to see how they work in the real world. We don't want to have them in an idyllic space. We want them to be around girls and around everything that could be at a regular college, because that's part of the process they have to go through. Did you find those 4 years to be troubling, or were you, like everything you've been through, you just knew what you were going to do and you went straight for it?
So I think the first year was it was very helpful, because I thought I was called to be a priest, and kind of maybe fitting the normal stereotype. You're like priests, holy dads. You're like, just this like untrue separation between like the priests and religious and the laity. And that was shattered in the first year of seminary because I had great professors, great fathers who I think John's shaking his head right now. Father John March. Sorry. And
Well, I think priests are allowed to call each other by first name. The lady have to refer to the father. So you
our
guys are good.
listeners.
You're okay.
And there's a few of them who were just excellent, and older, just 20-year-olds, junior, seniors, who were fantastic men, who were in really good relationships, who were engaged, who were about to get married, who there was missionaries of all ages. And so I was like, holiness is not priesthood, religious life. Holiness is every vocation. And seeing these cool things and just these great role models, I was still like, God's calling me to be a priest. So I think I really believe that the foundation of the vocation was pretty solid early on. But I would say that I was so blessed, especially doing 2 mission trips and getting involved with campus ministry, that I made a lot of friends outside of the seminary who are really good friends. There was my cantor yesterday is one of my closest friends, and she her older sister went to Seton Hall, was 2 years older than me. We were really good friends my freshman and sophomore year. She's like, my sister, it was our last concert. She's like, oh, my sister's coming, and she's coming to Seton Hall next year as well. And so we met, and then the next year, my junior year, she's a freshman, we became really good friends. We had class together, and so that's just one example of many of the benefits, I think, of Seton Hall and the college seminary. And there's temptation. I would say at college, at Seton Hall specifically, you can be as Catholic as you want, and you can do nothing Catholic, both and at Seton Hall, and it happens. It happens, and you're like, wow, this is pretty interesting.
I went to a Catholic college. I can agree with that.
That's funny.
But I think I especially, going to basketball games, doing stuff with campus ministry, especially the mission trips over the summer, I made some of my closest friends who we're still friends, 4 or 5 years later. Wow. And my best friend, Tim, he was the MC yesterday. He's this big goofball. I love him so much. He was not in the seminary for 2 years. He entered the seminary as my roommate my last year. When I was a senior, he was junior. And now this is going to be his 4th year as a missionary for St. Paul's Outreach.
Oh, wow.
And he works with young men, lives in this big non-frat house, and just is driven to be, a man who forms men to be mature and responsible and Christian. Yeah. So it's that's just
right there, right?
That shows what comes out.
Exactly.
That's
so
cool.
When your 4 years is up, you're done in Seton Hall. When does, or I guess, what part of the process do you get the call that you're going somewhere else to finish your seminary?
Father Mano told me, he convinced me that I was. We had this we were walking around for 2 hours the day before, for just all around the campus at Seton Hall. He came for his 2-day visit. And then the next day we have this meeting, and in 3 minutes it's like, hey, yeah, so you're going to get a room. And I was like, what? And you remember me? I just, my mouth was open, and I'm like, what?
And that's midway through your senior year?
November of my senior year, yes. So it was, he surprised me. He surprised me. It was a great honor. It was very humbling. I was very...
Were you excited? Did you have any trepidation?
I was... I think being humbled was what I felt and thought about. I remember actually just being I went to chapel at ICS. I think we met at the major seminary in one of the upper rooms, and there was just a chapel the next floor down, and I was just like, God, this is crazy.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Why are you doing this? Kind of just really amazed. So, but I'm very thankful for it. 4 years later, it was great, great place to learn and to be formed by excellent men, excellent classmates who were.
And I realize, you didn't do major seminary in Seton Hall, but I'm curious, from your perspective, what are some of the differences between that American seminary versus a Roman seminary? It was a North American college, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think Immaculate Conception is very homey, and I think it's smaller and able to just build these great relationships. And in Rome, you certainly have to go a little bit further to make these good friendships, because there's 200 guys, and you're not from mostly New Jersey. There's 10 guys from New Jersey from different dioceses, but I think that was one difference. I think studying close to the Holy Father and right near all these incredible pilgrim churches is incredible. I think the whole thing was a 4-year pilgrimage, and that was kind of the lens through which I saw it, of just Lord, you're the leader. I'm not in control. I have no idea what's going to happen the next day. This year was epitome of that, and also the Roman culture, just it's not as organized as the United States. You never know what's going to happen. You just trust, and you just laugh a lot. You're like, I can't believe that just happened. I would never see that again in my entire life. So then the next day, okay. So I learned a lot to relax and just to trust. So that was 4 years. I learned a lot of relaxing and trust.
Now, did you also have to learn how to become a tour guide? Because every annoying friend of yours from Jersey, how many times did you make him your tour guide?
Only once. Only the father never had the other 3. Only the most recent trip.
But then you took him with you, didn't you? You guys went
as
all
my
over
tour guide.
That's right.
Kari is not an annoying friend.
Yes,
I'll put that
let it be known.
On the air.
I don't know. I've worked with her a lot. She's a little annoying.
The key was Venice lifting JP.
Up and down all the little bridges over all the canals have a bridge go over it, and a baby carriage does not easily go over a bridge. So you got your workout, Father never. He got it the other time. Father Gallagher, you got your workout in Venice.
It was fun. It was.
We had a great trip.
And did you? I guess most people, when they think of seminary in Rome, everyone just assumes you're having dinner with the Pope constantly and things like that. Did you even have you ever had a chance to your photograph taken with him, shake his hand? Has he visited the seminary while you were there?
I was able to shake his hand twice.
Wow.
And once in 2017, and last year on Thanksgiving with our bishop,
oh, that's
with Father
right.
Hughes, Father Mano, with Paul. Deacon Paul.
Deacon Paul.
It's crazy.
That's right. Yeah.
We're going. So yeah, that was twice in 4 years. You know,
Very nice.
it's not every night.
Yeah.
Though it's very humbling to be so close. I mean, our seminary's location is amazing.
You could throw a stone to the Vatican.
Yeah.
But you were able though to go at least on the Wednesday audiences with the Pope and
Correct.
the Angelus on Sundays. I think it is as well. So you've had many encounters where he's close to you, but as far as that one-on-one encounter, it was only twice.
And yeah, he came to the seminary in 2015 or 2014, which was the first seminary he visited as Pope. So that was a great honor, I think, and they have really good photos from that at the seminary posted.
That's
cool.
very nice. So, Father March, how many times have you shaken the hand? No, haven't had that opportunity yet.
No,
that's fine.
no.
That's okay. Deacon Gallagher or Father Gallagher's never been a Marine either, so I'm going to go. That's a little harder than getting a handshake with the Pope. But what about you? I mean, you go into seminary as an older fella. You were what, 36, 37 when you went in?
Yeah.
And did you go directly into major seminary, or did you have to do any Seton Hall time?
Yeah, so I went to the major seminary for 5 years. The first year is called pre-theology, and then the last 4 years are called theology, like the grad school portion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your seminary experience was 9 years altogether?
Just 5.
Oh, okay, just 5.
Just
okay.
5.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. You were.
Yep.
You were educating me. My apologies. So you did the final 5, but you did do a pastoral year at the.
No pastoral year. Just 5 years.
The pre-theology and then the 4 major.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So
how about for you? Were you rare? Were you rare as older seminarians? Although I know for a fact you weren't, because we had a deacon
on last week. We had one on last week.
I know.
He was talking about it.
And we didn't hear Deacon. Wait, which deacon was it again?
Bernazzi.
Bernazzi. He's 44.
Yes.
So older than you.
Yes.
But as a older seminarian, was that kind of a unique experience?
Well, first of all, when I got there were several guys in their 50s. So I didn't.
That makes you feel good.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I take it. I rescind my earlier question then.
So
no, but I mean, you're surrounded by young. Well, not because he was in Rome, but I'm sure there were other young seminarians there. It was a kind of a unique and to be on the college campus in general.
Yeah, you know what I feel like just privileged to be like at my age to be getting to interact with like this young and upcoming generation. Like I feel like I don't know what the right term for it is, but like somebody who gets to be like a conduit between generations. Mm-hmm. That's how it felt.
That's a good way to put it.
That's how it felt to me. Like because I don't think God was calling me to be a priest at 17 years of age. But if I had been, a priest at like 25 or 26, I never would have gotten to have the type of experience that I've gotten to have the last 5 years of I have peers that I'm friends with, but like getting to know the younger generation the way I have, and it's just been a wonderful thing. And it just so happens that like the way many of them think pastorally and ministerially is similar to the way I think. So that's really energizing to me as well. So I feel really blessed.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I'm sure that those experiences will even help make you a more well-rounded, better priest to serve the young church in a beautiful way, because you have that connection now already.
Yeah, thanks.
So, the question, one of the questions that, I don't know, I can't read Kari's mind, but one of the questions
you're reading my mind.
I don't know, is it about the ordination?
It is.
Okay.
Because we only have a few,
I would have jumped
just
into
like
the
last
ordination.
week, we spent a lot of time talking, which I love, though. The background sets the tone to where you are today, so it's important.
So the ordination is up. You're recently ordained. We figure like 36 hours old as priests right now. You just had your first masses, which I got to attend both of them. Kari didn't care to come to Father March's.
I didn't have an invite. It's
could've asked
invite.
me. I would've snuck in the back door.
You said earlier it was invite only. It's okay, Father March. I'll forgive you.
But so I love going to ordinations. We talked about it at the very beginning.
Agreed.
it's something that shouldn't be missed if there's ever an opportunity to go to one. Your ordination was beautiful. Unfortunately, it was forced to be, less number of people than we would have liked, so it was limited to friends, family, and invited clergy. But what was, I think I asked one of you at some point, were you nervous at all? And I recall, I guess I forget which one of you. You guys look alike to me. I don't know. But you didn't seem all that nervous. I've never seen two people look more composed before a major moment in their lives. And I'm just kind of curious, what was going through your minds the night before, the day of?
Can I give some credit to Father Jason Rocks? He made it very simple. We had to show up at 9:30. We had to get there, and everything was going to be fine. And I really hung on to those words. Mike, I'm going to be very honest. I was telling Father John March, I'm driving, and I'm like, we just got to get there. We just got to get there. So once I got there, I was like, okay, here we go. But really, I will say that I felt prepared and honored and very humbled. It went fast. The ordination, I thought, I was like, boom, 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 and just I think I can remember beautiful music too.
There was definitely beautiful music.
Very powerful, loud too. They have good mics.
Was the how about the moments? I mean, the actual ordination moments when the oil is placed in your hand and you're given the paten and the chalice for the first time. I mean, you would practice those, and I had been there for the practices, and the practices were pretty light. Particularly the run through the day before, we were cracking jokes, because I was there to make sure we had all the right camera angles. But when the moment actually happened, and your bishop places hands on your head and rub the oil into your hands, what did that? Did you realize what was happening at that moment? Both of you?
I think. Especially the oil was very powerful. I think, if anything to speak about, that was a very memorable and just really special moment. Yeah. My favorite moment, maybe, of the ordination.
Wow.
And the consecration. You can't beat that. But I really of all the kind of those special parts about the ordination, I think the oil, for me personally, was very powerful. Yeah.
How about you, Father March? What about you?
Yeah, after the bishop laid his hands on our head, somebody said the bishop has a certain style of putting his hands on your head, where he comes from far out in, and you can kind of feel a delay as you get down there. You feel like you can't see because your eyes are kind of closed. But then a very powerful part was when the priests came and laid their hands on our heads after that, and you just feel like. It's like the diocese and God giving you a reminder 80 times that he's called you to this. And so
I was curious, were your eyes closed that whole time, or are you peeking what priest is coming next?
Yeah, because
I saw you from behind, so I'm like, are they watching? Do they know?
Yeah, that's a great question. I decided not to look to see who it was coming. I would open my eyes looking down just to see if there was somebody about to come in front of me, maybe. But no, I didn't look to see who it was. I just tried to kind of stay focused. Prayer. Yeah.
Did you watch it later to see who? Because I know who gave you the longest blessing. It was actually noticeable. It caused a backup.
Really? I didn't pick up on that.
I'll tell you later. But it's so joyful and that's actually my favorite part is when, like yourself, when the priests come up and actually both. When the hugs happen and when the blessings happen are two of my favorites. Actually, when the priests are vested for the first time, that's a great moment. Finally, their stoles are the right way, because you use there are two different. There's a diaconate stole and there's a priestly stole, and they put the priestly stole on you sideways, so it's always flared out in the side. And as a photographer, it drives me up a wall. I'm like, that is not laying right.
Get that stole down.
They need that transitional stole to turn around on them.
That's funny.
But, so I guess then the other thing, and you kind of alluded to this, the consecration.
Yeah.
Okay, so you weren't really nervous at your ordination. Were you nervous for your first masses? Feel free to say yes to that one.
I was nervous for you. I'm like, look at Peter up there. I hope he gets the lines right. I hope he does it good.
I hope, I think everyone saw my two of my great faults, which are clumsiness and disorganization, and
Yes.
they were pretty like evident, you know.
But your video was only live streamed; it was not recorded, so nobody can go back and ever see it again. No one will know.
It's done.
If Father March screwed up, his is recorded and can be viewed at any time. But he didn't. He had a good one. How did you choose the vestments you were going to wear for your first mass?
So that I was hoping to have a Blessed Virgin Mary vestment, and I went to there's a store in Italy in Rome that they made that, and it actually arrived through the mail about 3 days after we got back
Oh, really?
from Rome.
Oh, nice.
And that was on kind of the rack,
Yeah.
you might say.
Yeah.
And people were very kind. They really liked it, I thought.
It was a beautiful vestment. One of the prettiest I've ever seen.
Yeah,
actually.
it reminded me of. I was like, he had to get that at Rome. It was very ornate in that sense, and just it was gorgeous. It really was.
But it was, and I know we're doing this on a podcast, but I actually took note of it in the sense that the color choices, like there was a light blue on it. That
Yes.
I don't think I'd ever seen it on a vestment before. It looked great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so,
think
well
it
done.
was an extra. I think it was the same material as like the rest of the vestment, so it was like two kind of put into one, rather than. I had never seen that before either.
Yeah.
To be
Does
honest,
it have an image of the Blessed Mother on it, or
doesn't.
just blue for?
No, it's blue for Mary.
Nice.
So
That was gorgeous. And Father March, now, where did your vestment come from? Because I have a theory in my head.
What's your theory?
I want to hear where it came from, because I don't know if I'm right first.
It came from the pastor of my home parish.
That's why, because I was looking at it going, that's Father Byerly's chasuble. I've seen that all along. That may have been at my wedding, as a matter of fact. I was like, that's vintage. So, and you're a bit taller than Father Byerly, and I remember thinking, it fits a taller man, too. So that was true. Now, so was it nerve-wracking, Father March, for you? I mean, you've been through some stuff in your life. Was that first mass? Because you looked very calm and composed. Noticeably calm and composed.
Yeah, I mean, that was the opposite of how I was feeling inside.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
You got a great poker face.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. I was like, I'm very thankful for my brother's seminarians. They rehearsed with me for like an hour and a half before the mass.
Oh, that's nice.
That's very
so
kind.
they were amazing.
Yeah.
Especially Chris Myers was my master of ceremonies, and can I tell one story
Sure,
about
absolutely.
a seminarian to make the seminarians look
Yeah.
good? So he texted me on Thursday morning and said, "Oh, by the way, do you have a worship aid?" And I said, "Oh no, I had been trying to make a worship aid for the mass, but it was just really hard for me for some reason." So I was like, "Oh no, the people aren't going to have the words to anything because there's no missals right now." And he called me later that night and said, "Would it be okay if we rehearsed again?" I said, "Yeah, great. I'll meet you tonight." And when he walked in for the rehearsal, he walked in with something that looked like a worship aid, and I was looking at it with great interest, and it said June 21st, 2020, and then I saw Reverend John March, and I said, "Did you make a worship aid?" And he just handed it to me quietly, and you could tell he had put in hours of work into this thing.
That's a Chris
and
Myers
he
move.
just took all of the stress off. It was like my last thing
Yeah.
that I was really stressed out about. And he
Amazing.
did that, and I was like, this is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a blessing. So that's...
You know,
Yeah.
I knew I
That's-
liked that guy.
He's
but
a great guy. You know what? You know why I like him? Because he came through Our Lady of Peace Parish.
Oh,
That's why you
Nobody's
like him. I always give Mike the jab. He is a great seminarian, and you know what? There's so many great
There
all
really
wonderful.
are.
It was nice to highlight them. They served all the masses last weekend, this weekend,
Yeah.
and just really it was nice to see them all. The men in black up there, in their cassocks.
And I'm curious, I was actually nervous for the two of you for another reason, because I was actually watching Father March's, Father Gallagher's mass and going, This is kind of strange. Bishop is 6 feet from his face and looking directly at him, because of the manner in which that church is set up. You have 2 rows looking directly at each other. Anyway, so I'm watching it going, that can't be a comfortable thing to have the bishop literally staring at you as you're doing your first mass. How comforting was that, Father Gallagher?
Can I hope one is that was my decision. Someone else brought that to me, and I've said, like, I like, like you can see Jesus.
Yeah.
And then, like, it's not about the priest, it's about God. That's my personal
Sure.
Then I'll say I in the past, especially it's been years, but I remembered it, and I was like, I can't look up at Father Hughes. He's gonna make me laugh. So I was like looking down, like most of it, because I was like, if I look up at them, they're gonna make a goofy face or something. I'm just gonna start laughing.
My.
So I have to say I was kind of just like
looking down and
like. So I wasn't looking at the bishop like face to face.
Yeah.
For most of it, but someone else did point that out, Mike.
I have sit in a lot of rooms with him. I don't like to.
That's
He's
a good
looking at me. I get very nervous.
Think...
Father March was brilliant in his placement. Bishop was all the way in a corner, about 20 feet away. I was like, now that's how you keep the boss sort of back a little bit so you don't freak out too much. My compliments, Father March. There's another element. Hold on. So the other thing, one of my favorite moments in any first mass, and I'm kind of curious, it's the only time I will occasionally have to fight back tears, and it tends to be at the very end of the mass when the new baby priests present their parents with gifts.
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful moment.
I was crying. Yeah. It was nice.
Okay, well,
as a mom, when you hear a young man speak about his mother, I mean, as a mother, my heart was just touched for your mom to hear the words you said.
So,
very nice.
For anyone who's not familiar with this moment of a first mass, which I have to imagine there are probably many people who are listening right now, what does a priest give to their parents at the end of a mass?
It's the
mandatorium,
and stole.
Yeah, and what do they represent? Or how are they utilized?
The significance of them.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, the symbolism more behind the mandatorium, a little bit less knowing of. What happens is after our hands are anointed with the chrism, we then use that to dry them off, and so then it's also something that's buried with our mom, and in the tomb. It's symbolizing that I gave my son to you, God, as a priest.
Yeah,
beautiful.
It is.
And that's a great, and as the story goes, I've heard is that the mother, when she's buried, she clutches it in her grasp, so that when the day comes and we're all reborn at the second coming, she can present it to Jesus and go, I gave you a priest of your ministry. And the same thing with fathers, is right, Father March? But it's not that; it's something else that they're getting, right?
I think it's supposed to be your first confessional stole, but I hadn't heard a confession yet. But it was the time to present the stole. But yeah, it was. I don't remember. Thankfully, the company sends you like readings that go along with it that can be read. But I know that my parents were very, very happy.
Your father gave you a hug that you did not look prepared for, because I actually have a photograph of it that I didn't put up, because he hugs you so strongly that I thought he was going to choke you. But it was gorgeous. Now, unfortunately, Father Gallagher, I had to leave because the only thing either of you screwed up for the entire day was your masses were so close to each other, time-wise. I had to run from one to the other to photograph the other one and set up for Father March's live stream. So I wasn't able to stay till the very end. But I'm assuming it was similar for you. Were your parents touched?
Yeah, I think it was, I think, especially cool because my mom loves to sew, and I had asked her beforehand, because when you do something, it's like you want it done well. You know,
Yeah.
if she's a sower, like to receive something sown, you're like, you know, oh, I could do better than that. So I was like, Mom, do you want to do this? And she said no. And a really great sister friend of mine, Sister Maria Silva, who's a Dominican Mary Mother of the Eucharist, works as a librarian at the NAC. She did it for me, and that meant so much to me. And then to give it to my mom, was really, really special. Yeah. So
did your mom cry?
I think she a little tears. That's a lot for my mom too.
I couldn't see from where I was, but I was like I said, in the pew tearing up, just hearing your words.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful opportunity. It's really a great way to end a mass, honestly, to tell you the truth, with that last moment with your parents. And, you know, I've talked to a number of priests over the years now, and they all talk about the special relationship they have with their mothers, particularly after they become priests, but in general as well. But also something both of you have mentioned numbers of times, several times during our conversations, you've talked about the friends you've made and the strength of those friendships and just how many of them came to the ordinations. I've been to one. Actually, I have a friend of mine. Not that you aren't my friends, but, you know.
You're working.
I met you guys on the job. What are you going to do? But one in my, from my personal life. And it was so wonderful to have been invited to it. And it was really moving. And we've been friends ever since. And, I have a couple of priest friends now that are from back in the day before I came to the diocese, that I really feel very strongly for because of that. But, they've said to me repeatedly that those friendships are oftentimes what helped to buoy them in these years. So it's so wonderful to hear that you guys have such great friendships.
Father March, I was curious, the sisters that were there, they were the Sisters of Life. Was that friend that prayed for you?
Yeah,
that was present at the ordination?
It was her sisters. She was praying for me in a special way this week because she's in Denver and wasn't allowed to travel out for the ordination. So she made quite a sacrifice. So I think that's that's a big part of the reason that at least I appeared so composed, during the week, was because I knew she was offering some major prayers for me from there. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's good that her order though could still be represented and present, and she can go and watch it on the live stream later.
Yeah,
go back and view it.
Yeah.
And, now you have, well, you always did. I mean, even as seminarians, I think there's a good relationship with now your brother priests. But now that your brother priests are in fact your brother priests, how can I put this? Even in your seminary days, particularly, where you've sort of been stationed already in different areas, have you found yourself getting good relationships with priests? Has that wall of seminarian to priest start when did that start to drop?
I would say I think deacon was a major step.
Really?
But I think especially it's been a really unique last 3 months, and I think I said it a couple of times, and I'm happy to share it even more. Father John, my pastor, Father John Picnic at Church of the Holy Family, was I think more happy for me than perhaps myself. He was so happy. He was counting down almost every day. He would ask me how many more days. And he's got such a gift of being a joyful and a childlike priest, in the highest best meaning of that word. And I'm very thankful for him for all of that and for all that he taught me. And we just have had the best. I mean, it's been an interesting but incredible time together. Really living wonderful with him and Father Naveen and Father Francis Kim over at Church of the Holy Family.
Wow. And Father March, how about yourself?
Yeah, I have felt a big difference in the last 3 days, and I think I know that I wasn't taking anything for granted until until I was ordained. I knew there was a chance that I could not be ordained, and I think my pastor was well aware of that as well. And so he, the way he's treated me since I've been ordained is there is a difference to it because he kind of waited for it to take place. He was always wonderful to me. But like I knew when I was a deacon or a transitional deacon, and now I know when I'm a priest. And people say to me, "Who was the person that shook you like during the sign of peace during the ordination?" And I said, "Was he Vietnamese?" They said, "Yeah, he had a shaved head." I said, "That was my pastor, Father Joe, shaking me." So yeah, he let me know I was ordained. So,
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I was just going to ask you if you had any other questions.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's those moments of when the fraternal kiss, I believe it's called, I like watching the priest's face, because in the congregation, you see the priest approaching you, your back's to us, and the joy and excitement of, and I know some of the ones that are close to each of you, and seeing their joy approach you, and then that embrace really does say a lot just in the action itself. And I enjoyed watching that for both of you.
Yeah.
And while that was going on, we were watching Bishop Sullivan, just kind of see his reaction, just out of curiosity. He was beaming with pride. And Bishop Sullivan does not have a poker face, and he really, you know what he's thinking when you look at him, and he was elated, absolutely elated, and even throughout the ordination, I could tell that he was really in a good place and really enjoying what was happening. And he gets very excited. You know, when he came here, one of his 3 primary goals was vocations. And over his time here, I've actually lost count. I want to say 8 priests, maybe a few more than 8 priests, probably more than 8 priests since he's been here. But he's thrilled that there's so many new priests of the diocese. So, and we are too, as a matter of fact. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for your fiat, your service. For
staying late on a Monday night to chat with the two of us. It's been wonderful. We couldn't be more excited for you, and thank you very much.
So happy for you both.
Yeah.
God bless everyone.
Well, we're very excited to be a part of this diocese, so thanks for welcoming us. It's wonderful to be here with you both.
Sure, no problem. And everybody, thank you for listening. And Kari, thank you for setting this up.
Yes.
And next week, we'll be talking more priests with Father Michael Romano. So check out that episode next week. Assuming he shows up on Thursday. We don't know. We'll see what happens. But
to be determined.
He's back from Rome. He made it out of the coronavirus to get back here. He was there at the diaconal ordination and the priest ordination. So I think he'll make the podcast in a couple of days. Fingers crossed. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
God bless.